Good morning, everybody. This is Michael. Welcome back to Shots of Info. Today is November 12th, 2020. I don't know why I said the year, but yeah.
Oh,
Uh,
you got a main record.
quick disclaimer this is a conversation between me and Randy only, just for fun. So you cannot take anything, well, actually, the financial sector, especially, very seriously. And if you do, it's your own risk. All right? Cool.
All right, sweet. So let's jump into what we got today, and then we can jump right into it. So on the personal development side, this is going back to the dynamics between men and women. What does it mean for a woman to shit test you? On the fitness side, we have how to get better sleep, and on the finance side, we have how does inflation work, and what does the Fed's involvement with interest rates impact the way inflation works as well. And then news updates in the end. All right. So let's start off with number one here. What does it mean for a woman to shit test you?
Oh, that's an interesting topic. I think we
Mm,
have briefly mentioned um, well, it was back in the older podcast,
mm,
but I don't think we went into detail about it. And yeah, it's actually a very simple, very simple. I mean, it all comes down to a single thing. Is in order for a girl to whether go on a date with you or just think about going, you know, in bed with you or having sex with you, she needs to prove that you're worth it, because like society or like her friends are gonna talk, and she wanna make sure that the guy that she sleeps with was a good guy, or was like a value type of guy. So in order to do that, she's gonna shit test you to pretty much challenge your confidence and challenge that. I think is mainly challenging your confidence. You can
that's
challenge
about it.
it. Yeah, it's all about it, because like uh depending on your answers, you gotta like, if you if she says something like, oh, I have a boyfriend, and you start panicking and you be like, yeah, deuces, like, it just shows that you're not confident enough, because girls nowadays, they don't really care if they have a boyfriend. Yeah, go for it.
All right. So yeah, essentially, like what a shit test is a confidence test. It's to see whether or not you're the type of guy that you're portraying yourself as. Specifically in situations like that, usually if you get a rejection like, "Oh, I have a boyfriend," well, I could be true, like 20% of the time. 80% of the time is usually due to the fact of the woman doesn't really like you that way. She's not really that interested in you,
Mhm.
or she's just trying to see what type of person that you are. Because if she gives you that rejection, then you can either approach it from whatever, you're stupid anyway, I didn't like you, or you're like, well, most women do. That's fine. And then you proceed to have the conversation, um, and then you try it again. You try to escalate the situation to something a little bit more sexual later on. But you come back, you reduce it to something a little bit more platonic, and then you try it again and see what she gives you. Same rejection or same excuse, and you're like, okay, well, maybe it is true that she does have a boyfriend. Fine. Um, but again, essentially, a shit test is just to see what type of person that you are, and it doesn't have to happen like in the beginning of a relationship or before you guys even go on a date. This can happen years into any kind of relationship.
Yeah, that's absolutely.
the the whole point of the shit test is again to gauge your confidence, and that will be tested throughout your whole life. It doesn't have to just be women. It could be your friends, it could be your family, it could be coworkers. They're going to test you to see if you're still the same guy that you were in the beginning, just to make sure that you're somebody that's reliable, or you're somebody that hasn't gotten too filled up with your ego, because that could also happen. Somebody just makes a joke about you, like as a shit test, and then all of a sudden you get really mad, right? So right there, that's already telling that person like, oh, I have to be careful around this guy because he's sensitive. You tell him a joke, he might just go and fucking try to kill you. But yeah, that's essentially what a shit test is. We can dive a little bit more into the specific. I mean, we pretty much did with what men and women, or like the reason why they do it. Um, Now here's a question for you. do you think men shit test women?
You should, absolutely.
Okay, how do you go about doing that?
Well, definitely, putting some tests that pretty much confirms whether she is into you or not. Depending on, it also depends on the context, to be honest. But one that works, usually I use is so before I go on a date, I set the plans and stuff like that, and I don't text her until like the day of the date. But if the girl wants to confirm, if I know she's like interested, she's gonna text me during those days. That's one way
Hmm.
that shows that she's interested and she want to invest on my time the same way. All right, another one, really good one. Let's see. So this would be more in person. Whenever we walking or like talking.
Hmm.
Actually, no, I lost it. Oh
Shit.
shit. All right, cool. What about you?
Let's see. How many shit tests? Honestly, like if they're not really interested in me, I kind of just like I kind of just move on. I don't really try to pursue that anymore. Because again, that goes back to like our conversation of like being on your purpose and not chasing women in any way. So at a certain point, I'm just like, no. But like, I'm in a relationship now, right? So something that I look for is, I guess, respect and value of time.
Right.
I
Punctuality.
Yeah, I do my best to, use my time as effectively and as efficiently as possible. And sometimes one of the things that ends up happening is that I have to wait. I have to wait for her. And I don't know, like when I was younger, I used to always be late to class or maybe sort of kind of almost on time to things. But as I've gotten older, time just seems to be more valuable.
Right.
And people being late to things or people taking too long, that kind of just annoys me. Not necessarily like I'm going to shit test her in any way with that, but it annoys me. So I always go out of my way to kind of, try to make her go a little bit faster. So something that I did recently was she has a tendency of having increments of time. So let's say she is usually going to show up 30 minutes late, 1 hour late, or an hour and a half hour late. So I told her, if you show up within those increment time periods, every time that if you show up earlier than that point, I'm going to give you, what is it, $20. And for every 30 minutes that you're late, you're going to owe me $20.
Uh,
And that for me kind of works. Not always. Uh, I mean, maybe it was like $100. Maybe that might change the situation. But again, it's little things like that. I'm not.
that sounds like you petting her, bro. That shit's crazy. No.
It's
Okay, I got another one.
all right. Go
I
ahead.
think I told you this on the weekend. Remember
Hmm.
about the dishes?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
This is a really good one. All right, boom. So whenever I have like a girl over my house, I like to cook. I do like to cook. So I cook, but I usually when I cook, I wash the dishes right away. But just to test the girl, like how wifey material is this girl, I cook and I don't do the dishes. All right, boom. And depending on how she acts, like like after we eat and blah blah blah, and that's also another thing. We have to eat on the dining table, and we eat. Boom. I just wait. I try to finish after her and see how she reacts. And 2 out of 3, they don't wash the dishes, and I hate that because in my house, well, what I expect of the woman to, like at least help me out is with the dishes. I cooked,
Oh,
she at least helps with the dishes. It's a win-win. It's a balance. Boom.
that's fair. That's 100%
Yeah.
fair. But that's a really good one. You don't even have to say anything. You just
Hmm.
kind of see what she does naturally, organically.
Yeah.
Is she gonna go out of her way to help you, or is she just gonna go out of her way to,
Yep.
just be
Well,
selfish and not do anything, just be lazy and just wait for you to do it?
exactly. That's a
So yeah,
good. Yeah.
there's active things that you can do, and then there's passive things that you can do. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to just be like words. It doesn't have to be. So here's a good one that a woman might tell you: "Oh, your pants are too tight, right?" So let's say you're wearing some pants, and they're maybe like they could be joggers that are little, form fitting, so they shape to your leg, or some
Uh-huh.
pants or whatever. So usually you can either go about it in 2 ways or 3 ways. You can get mad at her and tell her no, right? And then just make a scene about it.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can agree and amplify. So what that means is you agree with her statement and then you take it up another level. Like, yeah, so after this, I'm going to go to a gay bar with my boyfriend. If you'd like, you can come join us as well. And then the third one is to kind of just dismiss it or just be like, yeah, sometimes like wearing good looking clothes.
I
And
feel
that's it. You just move on from the conversation.
when it comes to women, I don't think being dismissive is the best option to go when you're being shed test.
Mm,
Always turn it around, change the point of conversations, make it funny, or that's what how it worked with me. You gotta be witty for it though, because if you
yeah.
I'm sometimes witty with certain topics, but there are times I'm just like I gotta be thinking about it. I'll be like, okay, I could have said this.
Mm.
The time that joke is over. But yeah. No, definitely. I've been shit test multiple times. And it's annoying.
You always will. And
I,
sometimes it doesn't even happen. Like they're thinking about doing it. They just kind of do it.
mm. Yeah, and one good point that you mentioned, well, is that in a relationship also, guys get shit test during the
Mhm.
whole relationship because the woman she wants to know whether like while you are dating, the guy is still on his purpose, is still doing him, right? So if she wants to leave, let her go, man. If she says like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm gonna be out of this house," let her go. That's a
Look
shit.
at Hear this one. So hypothetically, let's say in a relationship, and then like either some guy starts flirting with her in front of you, or she goes up to some person at a bar,
Right.
or whatever, because you guys are going out, and she starts talking to this other guy. That's kind of a shit test. What are you going to do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is. Yeah, definitely. Jealousy is one of the biggest one.
Mm-hmm.
And as a guy, we also used it, to be honest, in order to see how, like, okay, boom, in a group of friends, let's say the girl that I'm interested on or the girl that I'm talking to, and we hang out in a group of people, I would be flirting, not really flirting, but being more friendly with her friend, just to see how that girl reacts, and you know, just to see how invested is she on me. Now, if
Yeah.
I notice that she's not, then it's okay.
You
And
don't lose anything.
I
You just made
conquer.
friends.
Yeah, I always got the friend.
Yep.
Imagine. No, I
No,
don't
no,
do
no. But I mean, you make friends, so now you can go
it.
socialize elsewhere, and now you have these people to come back to.
Exactly. It's
Mm-hmm.
always like that. But this, I,
Yeah.
I remember this working or like seeing more often when it comes to going on game, like outside
Mm.
bars and.
Yeah, for sure. Not so much anymore, obviously, because we close everything early,
Oh
like around
yeah,
11. But before, and maybe later on into the future when everything kind of gets more back to normal.
absolutely. Well, we gotta get to that because we got a new curfew.
What's the curfew now?
Yeah.
What's the
For
curfew?
because of the pandemic. It's at 10
No, but
p.m. for
oh,
change hours and everything.
I thought it was 11.
No, it's 10 now.
Oh,
Yeah.
well,
Cuomo announced it yesterday. We're gonna get to that. But
okay.
yeah, anything else to add to this topic?
No, that's pretty much it. Again, if a woman should test you, don't
One
take
time.
it. The worst thing that you can do is get mad. That's definitely the worst thing that you could do because then that completely just makes you look weak and jealous or insecure about whatever it is that she's testing you on. Just take it for what it is. You can agree and amplify. You can dismiss it, but
Yeah,
don't get
just
mad.
act normal. Just be you. It's like, bro, like you should be confident enough to just be you. And even if she's making fun of you, even if your friends are making fun of you, just don't give on it. Like maybe like your physical aspect, maybe if it's like partially true, you might turn like a little bit orange, then just laugh it off and just be cool. Don't get mad. Getting mad, reacting to it can be the worst situation that you can get into. Best case situation, usually no response. Like if you getting offended, no response, or tell them straight, hey, you offended me with that because, hey, don't be afraid to also stop because like if it's your friends who telling you this, you can tell them more directly responses, like, you know, like stopping them, because they're not gonna stop. They're not gonna stop. If else, you know, just make fun of it. But if you know something about them that can be more embarrassing, flip the script and just put them in those shoes. See how
Yep.
they react to it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's multiple ways to do it. We are not. I mean, I have some experience with it, but I don't think I can cover them all. So you can just watch YouTube videos, plenty of that out
Mm-hmm.
there, and read about it too, because it's the real world, man. Your boss is gonna do it, your colleagues are gonna do it, your wife, your future girl, or same thing for a woman, future man is gonna do it. So look into that.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
All right, let's jump into the next part. How to get better sleep.
Oof, I slept like a baby last night.
Same, dude. I got home at like 4 after the gym, like around 4 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Literally ate some food, and somehow I took like a 6-hour nap because I didn't wake up until 11.
Oh, no. Okay,
Took a
not
quick
that much.
shower and then went to sleep again. Now we're here.
For me, watch. I went to bed. I usually go to bed like at 10, like 10 p.m. Whatever I'm doing, cut it off, and I go to bed. Last night was a little bit different because I couldn't. I was overthinking about something, and I did what I always do. I started writing. I wrote like 3 pages because I had a lot of thoughts in my head. And right after, 2 minutes later, knocked out, knocked the fuck out.
There you
And
go.
yeah, and I woke up like 5:30 without any alarm, and I could
Nice.
hear.
Somebody's used to it now.
Yeah, like you see how I have the meeting at 6 a.m. for us.
Mm-hmm.
The calendar was gives me like a notification half an hour. That's how I know it was like 5:30 ish, because like after I woke up, I heard the notification. I was like, oh shit, it's 5:30.
Nice.
But like I didn't need any alarm. Feel very great. Don't feel sick at all. So yeah.
Yeah, and so man, sleep is best. Basically, along with exercise and good nutrition,
Mm-hmm.
that's the best medicine that you can have. If you can get that down, you'll very rarely you'll get sick, if ever.
Correct. Now
But yeah,
how to get better sleep though?
yeah. So let's jump into that. So that thing that you mentioned there, with like your brain starts running with a bunch of ideas and you start getting stressed about it.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely like the way that you write stuff down. So you have a pen and paper on the side.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said about that, because you don't have maybe like your phone, because you could also make notes on your phone, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the phone can disturb your sleep with all the light emissions, the blue light. So maybe the paper is definitely a better route to go. But the way I do it usually is to make notes on my phone. But yeah, whatever works for you.
Yeah, definitely wouldn't recommend the phone. Well, that's too bad. I wouldn't recommend the phone because you kind of want to stay away from any sort of electronics
Mm-hmm.
before you fall asleep.
Yeah.
For me, it's hard because I've been doing work, like on my computer. So
Mm-hmm.
at 10 p.m. I close it, and I get ready to bed, and then go to bed. But
But yeah,
if you
let's jump into it, because I got some, because that goes into what I was gonna say too.
okay, go ahead.
Um, so here's some basic general ideas I can give you. So one of the biggest things is caffeine. So with caffeine, you definitely want to be limiting that, especially towards the later part in the day.
Right.
So I would say if you can stop drinking caffeine between 12 and 2 p.m., you're good. Because caffeine usually has a half-life of about like 6 hours. So you get a reduction of its potency every 6 hours rather. So hypothetically, let's say you drink coffee at 6 p.m., you're not going to feel that's only going to decrease in its strength until like 12 a.m. So it's going to make it difficult to go to sleep later. So definitely early on in the morning, the earlier you limit the caffeine, the better off you are. That's number one. Number two, exercise, right? We've already talked about that at length. Exercise, the whole point is to obviously make yourself better, but to deplete that extra energy that you have. So you can either do it early on in the morning or more towards the evening, and that maybe will help you just completely knock out because you don't have any energy left.
Mhm.
Making sure that you're not eating while you're going to bed or getting closer to bed. Um, so some people might not have an issue like falling asleep when they eat and go to bed like right after or like an hour later.
Right.
Um, Here's the problem. So during that period of time where you're sleeping, your body's also trying to digest that food. The whole point of sleep is to help you recover. But when you're digesting food, your body's at work. So you're not going to be able to recover from that aspect, your digestive system and all the things that go into, you digesting food. So if you have two things that are kind of going against each other, you're not going to get the greatest quality of sleep because your body's trying to spend energy burning off the food that you have in your body, but also simultaneously trying to help you recover for everything that you've done throughout the day. So limit the food intake to about, I would say, anywhere from 3 to 4 hours before you go to bed. And maybe if you're like, you're the type of person that is accustomed to eating before bed, slowly just try to wane that down. Maybe 30 minutes, 30 minutes to an hour. So you just kind of try to backtrack until you get to that point that you're eating about 3 to 4 hours before you go to bed. Let's see what else. Alcohol is another one. So obviously when you go out and stuff, that there might be something to be said about that. You kind of go out, you drink your alcohol, you get back home, and then you immediately knock out. That's fine. But
Right.
you definitely don't want to be drinking alcohol before going to bed. Alcohol disturbs sleep, and it alcohol is a poison to your body. So the less or the more that you limit that intake, the better off you're going to be. Let's see what else. So you have the light emission that we were just talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
So technology is always a big thing, especially nowadays. TVs in the room, watching Netflix, your phone, video games, consoles, things like that. So what ends up happening is that these things emit a blue light, just like a light that's blue, and that ends up being a problem to your endocrine system. So the hormone that usually signals to your body that you need to go to sleep is what is it? So it's named for some reason. Melatonin.
I have no clue.
Yeah, melatonin. Because there's two of them, melanin and melatonin. But melanin is for the skin and melatonin is for going to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So with that blue light emission, what ends up happening is that your body isn't able to produce it as well or as much. So you're not going to feel as tired. But obviously it's late at night, so you should be feeling tired. So at least an hour or so before going to bed, reduce the blue light emissions. Reduce all the technology. Try to go as completely free of technology as you can. You can read a book if you need something to entertain you. That usually does it for me. I completely knock out right away because reading books are boring to me, and that makes me want to go to sleep. See anything else? No, I think that about covers it from my end. You got anything?
I was just thinking. So you can also use kind of like meditating music background. Like if you own a Google Home or Alexa, they can help you with that. Like they just set like a background theme. For example, some people when it's raining, like when they hear the rain, they tend to fall asleep. Like it calms down your nerves and stuff like that. So usually meditating music and stuff like that can help you. And now we talked about this topic yesterday. You can also use that. That can be beneficial if feeling some type of way, some anxious. That ASMR.
Oh,
You can
boy.
play that. I mean, whatever works for you. Like it can be useful in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, other than that, I think you cover all the topics. When it comes to screens, try to put your screen at least like half an hour to an hour before you fall asleep, and yeah, that works.
Also, one other thing I forgot to mention, you can create these little routines before you go to bed. So let's say hypothetically, you can do a little routine of stretching or a little yoga meditation practice to kind of help you just relax into the evening.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you can drink a tea, right? Like some
Tea
sort
has
of,
caffeine though.
Hmm?
Tea has caffeine.
Depends on the tea that you drink. So you can drink the decaffeinated one. They sell a couple of those types of teas that don't have any stimulants and they're actually meant to help you go to sleep. So you
Mm-hmm.
can consume things like that before going to bed, but not too much. That's another thing I forgot to mention. Shit, liquids. You don't want to be over consuming liquids before going to bed because that's definitely going to make you wake up in the middle of the night to go pee. So that one you want to limit to at least about 1 to 2 hours before you go to bed. Yeah, that's it.
Cool. Interesting topic. Interesting topic. But yeah, once again, for me, what works? Writing. If I'm having trouble sleeping.
Hmm.
Um, but everybody is different. Well, work
Yep.
for me might not work for you. But just try and fail, see what works, what doesn't.
Hmm.
But yeah, overall, you do want to get those 7 to 8 hours of sleep, like really good,
The
really
best quality.
cozy,
Hmm.
really cozy. Now the winter is here, actually, you're probably gonna fall asleep even easier,
Hmm.
cause cold weather makes you knock the fuck out. But yeah, other than that, make sure that you're being productive though. Don't be sleeping all day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially with classes on Zoom and all this. Yeah,
Mhm.
it can get a
True.
little easier to get lazy.
Facts.
All right, let's jump
Facts.
into the last point here. Last topic.
Go for it.
How does inflation work, and what's the Fed's involvement with interest rates, and obviously how that affects inflation as well.
Wow.
Um, what
Well,
do you think? What do you got? Because I have a really like basic understanding. I barely know anything.
so do I actually. When it comes to inflation, it's just how the depreciation of money or depreciation of the dollar per value.
Hmm.
So think about it like, oh, I'm sorry. So like how much or how many things or how much you can afford with the dollar. Now back in the days, you could do a lot with the dollar. You can buy uh like a fucking like a whole like two things from that McDonald's menu, let's say. Uh, well, I don't know how much they're like about $5, right? $3 to $5.
Nah, it could be cheap. It'd be like $2 to $3 for a
But
sandwich or something.
then let's go with something more expensive.
No, like you, I didn't. I don't know if we talked about it, but college, right? You could work a summer job before and pay for your whole college tuition.
Oh,
What
correct.
about
Yeah,
now?
yeah, yeah. No, but that's different though. That's not just inflation. That's also because colleges increase the price.
All
But
right, say a car. A
yeah,
car.
but inflation specifically is just the depreciation of the dollar. So, for example, let's say the chopped cheese, because we're in New York. Well, yeah, from New York City. Chopped cheese is approximately like what $4 now. But before, like let's go back 5 years before, it was approximately like 4 or 5% less. So it was probably like $3 ish, three and
I'd
something.
probably say 350,
Yeah,
375.
350 and 360. There you go. But that was a set price. Now let's go a decade back. It was like over 10% less. So it's probably gonna be like $3 or so. Okay, you get the point. It was cheaper, but it was a set price. Now, the reason why is that this past decades we have seen an inflation increase. Well, of I think about 2%. About it changes, but on an average is about 2%, and it's going to continue with that. What that means is that the dollar that you have right now is not going to be equivalent to the dollar that you are going to have 2 or 3 years from now. It's going to be worth 2% less. So that's why it's very important for you to invest the money so it keeps growing rather than just be sitting on the bank losing value.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
That's
who
pretty much
controls
it.
this? The Feds. That's it.
Yeah. So the Fed and the interest rates, right? So the way that works, at least to the most basic understanding that I have, is that with an increase in interest rates, what ends up happening is that the value of the dollar goes up, right?
Down.
Down. So an increase in interest rates increases the value, decreases the value of the dollar, and a decrease in the interest rates increases the dollar's value. So
Mm-hmm.
as it stands right now, we're sitting at negative interest rates, I believe, just to help combat the fact that
No,
everything
we are on zero.
zero. Okay.
Zero, yeah.
So I think we were
Europe
about,
Europe has a negative interest rate, which is
yeah.
crazy.
So the whole root point for that is due to the fact that the pandemic and everything kind of closed down, and the federal government, specifically in the U.S., was trying to just keep everything afloat and not force people to, kind of just go homeless simply because they couldn't afford anything anymore. Um, so that was the whole point of the interest rates and the decrease. But yeah, as you were saying, inflation basically works is that you over time your money will depreciate just by virtue of just time and how things get more expensive over time. I brought up that example of college, right? So
Hmm.
there's two components there: inflation, so your money's worth less relative to like 50 years ago, and the cost of education has gone up. So that's like a double whammy. Your money's worth less and it's going higher. So now you have to pay something that hypothetically you could have worked a summer job to pay off. Now you have to work a whole year, if not more, in order to pay that. But yeah, that's pretty much like the most basic rudimentary understanding of what inflation is.
Yeah, so it's actually held like inflation as low rate, let's say less than 2 or maybe I would say 2% because it's been 2% most of the time. As like as low inflation is healthy for the economy because you know as a consumerism society,
Consumerism.
consumer society, yeah, whatever. Um, we need to increase the productivity and efficiency. So how inflation plays a role there is that if prices tend to increase after a certain period of time, then manufacturers or like production, they need to increase the production because they want to sell more. Because it's a little bit more expensive to sell, so they get a little bit more money. So increases
Mm-hmm.
the production, but in order to increase the production, they need to generate extra jobs, and boom, they generate extra jobs. Now, what they don't like is increasing the wages,
There you go.
yes, and that's why the wage has stayed on that flat rate, even though inflation has gone to the roof. So right now you're pretty much earning like $5 or like $4 comparing to what it was back in the days because the wage increase hasn't increased with the inflation. So just keep that in mind. Now, how is it good? Good on the consumer side. I mean, bad. Sorry, how is it bad? Bad on the consumer side. Why? Because now people, they earning less because the works that they get, the wage is low and the prices are high. So they cannot afford the same thing that they could have afforded 2 or 3 years back. So that's how it affects. So if it's too high, the inflation rate, then it's too bad. I mean, it's bad for the economy. So
Mm-hmm.
there's always the balance, I would say.
Yep.
But yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
with
think that
that,
about covers it.
what's up?
I think that about covers it. You got something else?
Yeah, one last thing.
Mm-hmm.
Interest rate right now is at zero here in the US. And that means that the banks usually pay us to keep our money in the bank. It's usually about like 0.0000001. Like I'm exaggerating, but it's like nothing. When in Europe, if you go to Europe or you have somebody in Europe, they like people like me and you, they have to pay the bank to keep the money in there, which is kind of crazy because their interest rate is on negative. So just think about that. All right, cool. That's it.
Actually you mentioned it a little bit, but like again, to combat inflation, you can either work more jobs, work better paying jobs, or do something so that your money is working towards increasing in value, right? So that's investing and diversifying some sort of portfolio in order to make that money make you more money, increase the
Right.
value of the money, as opposed to just having it sit there. Now, there's something to be said. You can, and maybe we can discuss this as a topic, right? So, having money saved aside as an emergency fund versus having money for investing and trading versus money for expenses or things you like to do. But
Right. I think we talked about this already on the
yeah,
savings.
pretty,
Mhm.
yeah. But yeah, so you can have a little bit of funds as an emergency, but again, especially if you're young, a lot of your money should be going towards having that money make you more money. So again, investing that money is definitely a good priority for you to, get focused in on. Um,
Right.
you're gonna get older, and that value and that money that you're saving is gonna just lose value. So what's the point?
Exactly. All right. Cool. Yeah, we can definitely make a topic out of that.
Mhm.
Anything else you want to add? Some
No,
news update?
so in terms of news updates, we are slowly climbing back up, specifically the Nasdaq, because again, we've been talking about it. Technology is the thing that's been taking a big hit by
Yeah.
virtue of the fact that that was the only thing that went up during the whole shutdown in the pandemic.
Correct.
So that's happening. Besides that, my trades have been going pretty good. I don't know if you've been taking a look at what I've been posting, but
Oh
you know,
yeah. Oh,
they had a nice little return 2 days ago and had a decent return yesterday, but it wasn't anything crazy. Um, and then anything I'm looking at here, not really looking at anything. I'm still, trading Neo. I'm getting as we get closer to earnings date, or the earning report, which is on the 17th, so next Tuesday. That's where we want to start, watching the position, just because it has a tendency of falling
hmm.
on earnings. But if it's really positive, then this thing might actually just keep going up. So definitely want to be careful with that positioning. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it. What do you got?
Cool. Now what I got? Chipotle's digital kitchen. So they announced that yesterday. They announced that they will be opening their first all digital kitchen in Highland, New York. I don't know what that is, but it sounds like upstate.
Yeah.
Customers will be forced to order the Chipotle app or other third-party apps to receive service. No walk-ins welcome. So this kitchen,
Oh,
the concept of this kitchen is that there's no dining room nor service line. So, it's designed to simulate the smell, sound, and appearance of a regular Chipotle, but there's nothing of that. So it's just, pick up. Another news event yesterday was Singles Day, created by Alibaba. So that day was a success. Pretty much the main concept behind it is that, it's kind of like Prime Day that we have for Amazon. Everything is on sale and stuff like that. So it was a success. The event made over 700 billion in China. That's 21x of times sales from the US Amazon Prime. So
wow.
beat it Amazon's Prime Day. Crazy. That's crazy. 21 times.
Shit.
Wow. Yeah. So definitely good, strong numbers for the next quarter for Alibaba. And yeah, so Singles Day symbolizes China's pathway to post-COVID economics recovery. Alibaba BP Li Bu commented. All right. Other cases, coronavirus. Cases increases. This month was one of the highest months. Actually, I think it was the highest month of cases increase ever since the pandemic outbreak. Como mentioned yesterday that we are having a curfew of 10 p.m. for bars, gyms, everything. So take it as that. Yeah,
That's all.
that's all on my end.
All right. Any last words here for the people?
Hey peeps, stay safe, stay away from Rona. I will catch you
As
tomorrow.
best as you can. Yep.
Fact.
We'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care.